This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was
Oh, what are you
employee
playing there?
number
Oh, I'm playing the
427.
Stanley Parable. Oh,
Employee number
cool.
427
What's it about?
was
I mean,
sick.
that's a
He
good
sat at
question
his
to be honest.
desk in room 427
It's
and he pushed
hard
buttons
to
on the keyboard.
explain to be honest with you. I
Orders
mean, I
came to
guess
him through a
if I had
monitor
to explain
upstairs,
it, I
telling
guess
him what buttons to
it's a
push
man
and how
about
long to push them. And
it's
it
about a
worked.
man being
This
narrated
is what
by some
employee 427
thing.
did
I don't know,
every
maybe
day, every month,
a god,
every week.
a demon.
And although
Give me a
others
second.
might have
Wait, let me think
considered it
about this.
solely,
Oh, jeez,
Stanley
man. I
practiced
hate it
every
when I
moment
accidentally get into
as he
these
studied
rants.
them, though he had been made
It's so stupid. Like, come on, man. I've just asked you a
Stanley
simple question.
was happy.
It's an
Like,
experiment.
chill out, man. Not everything
Then
has to
one
be
day
thought
something
of
very
and
unexpected
analyzed
happened.
and looked at so
Something
thoroughly.
that ever changed Stanley.
Yo, are you
Something he
okay?
would
Never
never
the
quite
end is
forget.
never the end is never the end. I'm sure you know what the Stanley Parable is by now, but if you don't, here's a quick explanation. The Stanley Parable is a game where you play as, well, Stanley. You are doing your normal job pressing buttons, but you stop when you haven't received any orders in a while. You go outside your office to find out what's going on, but you find that no one is working. In fact, there's no one at all. This sends you on a quest to find out what is going on, and you find the whole place has been mind controlling everyone. You turn off the machine and escape. However, throughout your journey, your every action is narrated by some mysterious voice telling you what to do.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
This is where the game starts to get interesting. If you disobey the narrator, you get different endings depending on what you do. Whether you choose to escape or do whatever it is you want to do is entirely your choice. All of this has made me wonder, what exactly is the Stanley Parable? I mean, I've seen a couple theories on the Stanley Parable talking about how it's all in Stanley's head, but I just don't quite buy it. I mean, mainly because I find it quite boring, but this then leaves us with the question, who is the narrator? And what the heck is going on? Well, what if I told you that not only does Stanley have powers, he is being experimented on by the narrator? This may seem like a bit of a stretch, but I mean, think about it. You're telling me the narrator can do whatever he wants, but then we see Stanley do things he doesn't want to happen throughout multiple endings, and he doesn't intervene except for the occasional, "Don't do that, Stanley." Alright, you might be wondering, what powers would Stanley have? I mean, it's not like we see anything happen on screen. And to answer your question, I believe Stanley has the power to manipulate reality, specifically when he believes something. Now, this might be a bit confusing, but we can look at the dream ending to understand it more.
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
How does this prove anything? It's clearly the narrator doing all this. Shh! Okay, at first glance, it does seem like the narrator is doing all of this. But shown in many endings, the narrator just can't do this. In fact, he has little control over Stanley, which is why he can make his own choices and what. But is it possible the narrator is simply convincing Stanley that he is in control? So then, when he says Stanley is dreaming, Stanley does think he is dreaming. And I mean, what's more logical? It's a dream? Or Stanley's being involved by some invisible entity, or maybe God himself? And let me ask you this. What can you do in your dreams? You can control them, change them to your heart's desire. I mean, heck, that's why people lucid dream in the first place. So this is what Stanley does. Except he shouldn't be able to do this. He shouldn't be able to make stars appear out of nowhere. He shouldn't be able to fly. He shouldn't be able to do any of this. Except he does. As the narrator says, Stanley is not dreaming. He is more awake than ever. Now, you might be wondering about the ending scene of the ending where it shows Stanley seemingly passed out from some sort of panic attack. think this could easily be some sort of flashback Stanley's having. I mean, think about it. If you found out you had these reality-altering powers, would you be able to handle the stress and responsibilities? If you accidentally killed someone, could you live with yourself? To the 5 people who said yes, please go get some help. But for the rest of you, you can clearly see why Stanley would be having this type of reaction. I mean, if you even have the smallest amount of remorse, you'll be freaking out as well. I mean, if you want to get deeper into this, let's look at what Stanley is apparently shouting.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
These aren't thoughts of a crazy person. These are thoughts of someone who is in shock. In fact, I believe Stanley accidentally killed his wife. This is what sent him over the edge. Why he is found on the floor screaming. Imagine the love of your life being taken away from you. And not just being taken away from you, being taken away from you because of what you did. This is even further hinted at through the ending, where the narrator makes fun of Stanley for thinking he would ever have a wife.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha.
But this clearly isn't true when you look at the phone calls that can be heard randomly when you start the game. Now, you may be thinking, why doesn't Stanley's actual wife magically appear? Because like I said earlier, Stanley's powers work through belief, so if he truly believes what the narrator is saying, his wife should show up. Well, I mean, it could be possible he can't make love, or my other idea is that since he killed his wife or accidentally disintegrated her or deleted her from reality, it could be possible that she just can't be brought back. And if you are wondering about why Stanley can't remember this consistently and why he only has a flashback then, or maybe he might remember his wife there but not, somewhere else. I mean, think about it. Is it that hard to believe that a mind control machine under the facility is making him forget? I mean, is it so hard to believe that they are simply using the mind control machine under the facility to make Stanley forget so they can find out what he is truly capable of? I mean, if you think about it, wouldn't our governments do the same? Wouldn't our, leaders do exactly the same thing? I mean, a being of this power, this level of power, godliness, we would want to study it. Make sure we're not getting ourselves into world-ending territory. Our next bit of evidence to look at is the ending where Stanley causes the world to glitch out. In this ending, Stanley is told that he is corrupting the world because he is a player in a video game. But Andrew, doesn't this just throw out the whole theory? No, it doesn't. It's obvious they're just seeing what Stanley's powers can do, and if they can completely manipulate reality into something like, I don't know, a game. You could be thinking, why would this help at all? Why would they want to change reality into a game? But I've got a question for you. What do you do very frequently in video games? It involves checkpoints. It was respawning if you didn't get it. But anyways, this could help achieve immortality and literally cure everything. Because once you've cured death, there's nothing else you would need to cure. Because if you die to whatever the disease is, you're back and healthy.
But anyways, as we see in the ending, Stanley's powers does kick in and it starts to corrupt the world.
This then leads to Stanley having some sort of out-of-body experience where the narrator is begging for Stanley to do something.
Which is a far cry to how the narrator was acting before, when Stanley was just apparently a game.
I mean, if you really thought Stanley was being controlled by some player, would it not be more reasonable to assume that he would call us player and not Stanley in this moment? Not to mention, if anything, this still makes sense with Stanley's power set, because since he believes what the narrator is saying, he stops being Stanley, rather becoming an entity controlling Stanley, looking over Stanley. The narrator's reaction also helps strengthen the idea of him being an experimenter, because he's on the verge of having a mental breakdown, possibly because he isn't getting the results he wanted. Or maybe his boss is expecting him to get a certain result, and if he doesn't, it could end horribly for him.
More evidence for this theory can be seen is clearly someone else taking control of the experiment, seeing the current narrator isn't getting the results they were looking for.
You may be wondering why I haven't been talking about Ultra Deluxe, and that's because I believe that all of it, and I do mean all of it, is a result of Stanley bending reality so much that the world has truly become a video game, or at least the facility has. Heck, the game still supports this theory. Just look at the bucket. As soon as the narrator tells Stanley that this bucket does all of these wonderful things, it does. Heck, it even causes everyone to react differently and need this bucket. This is because Stanley makes the bucket do all of these incredible things. Another thing that supports this theory is a settings character. It's been confirmed that the settings character is Employee 432. This means that it is possible
That Stanley is not the only experiment.
and is in fact not the only superhuman. But could it be possible that settings character is the other Stanley we see walking past the window if we move fast enough? If this is true, it only strengthens the theory further and proves Stanley is an experiment. If you really aren't convinced, let's just look at the layout of the building. There are no exits, entrances, and heck, even the windows don't show anything. This obviously isn't any regular office, and if it was all in Stanley's head, wouldn't he still have some sort of exit, entrance, maybe something to look out the windows? Not to mention the countless unnecessary things that are in the office space. I mean, just look at the command control machine. That alone shows that this place is not what it seems. Or even look at the escape pod ending, where Stanley escapes the building through an escape pod. People, an escape pod. I don't know how much I have to say this to you. This is not some office. This is not just some regular facility. This is an experimentation. It's not a door, not an elevator, a flippin' escape pod. You can even see Stanley's old version. You can even see old versions of Stanley's office where it's likely other Stanleys were being experimented on until they either broke out or showed what if the experimenters wanted. The whole time we thought Stanley was crazy, but it turns out he is so much more. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more of this content. Hey, if you want me to cover anything, make sure to leave it in the comments below. Anyways, see you